Hello, and welcome to Palindrome ASMR. In today's video, I will be consuming a candy cane in its entirety. That's about it. If you came for something a little more interesting, well then, do stay, because who knows, I might come up with some interesting topic to talk about while I'm eating this candy cane and tapping on various objects. So let's listen to the sound of a candy cane. Now, recently I've been playing the Steins Gate visual novel. If you don't know what Steins Gate is, it's one of the most critically acclaimed anime ever. It ranks at like a cool 10 best anime of all time on the aggregate site My Anime List. Personally, I did not like the anime because I thought it was a little bit too bland, but I'm really liking the visual novel because of its art style and the fact that visual novels can be a lot more wordy than anime. So, having played the Steins Gate visual novel is like serious street cred as an anime aficionado. It's serious street cred, like playing the Fate Stay Night visual novel is I've also played the Fate Stay Night visual novel, and that gives me more awesome anime street cred. I didn't finish my sentence because I was too busy chewing this at least 1-year-old candy cane. In all seriousness, this candy cane was locked up in our Christmas decorations box. Which means that it has been in storage since at least the end of last Christmas. So that makes it this candy cane should be walking now and saying its first words. It's that old. At least it could be much older than that. If you suck on a candy cane for long enough, you can turn it into a pretty nice shank. I always thought that was a little bit awesome. The one thing that I hate about candy canes is that they are oftentimes difficult to unwrap without breaking. But I unwrapped this one fine. I've played a couple of visual novels. All of the biggest ones. I mean, if you don't know what a visual novel is, It's a uniquely Japanese game. And by uniquely Japanese, I mean you won't find American visual novels. You won't find any visual novels anywhere outside of Japan, which makes it a very weeaboo-ish thing to enjoy. If you don't know what a weeaboo means, it's basically a Japanophile. In other countries, they have Anglophiles. In America, we have Japanophiles. But anyways, back to the point. I've played such seminal works like Tsukihime, which is the visual novel that got the studio that made Fate Stay Night. Type Moon made Fate Stay Night, and Tsukihime was their debut work. It was a doujin visual novel, which means that it was produced by amateurs. It was an unprofessional production, and it shows there's no voice acting, and the story is all over the place, but that's normal for visual novels. What's my point? I don't know. I've also played Kamidori Alchemy Meister, which is a hybrid visual novel top-down strategy game and shop management game. But I was kind of sad because my 20-hour save game was lost when I imported all of my games onto a new computer. So that's why I've never finished it. I lost my progress when my computer broke down. I've also played Deer Drops, which is pretty good, I'd say. And I've played the one visual novel that is on Steam that is actually any good. If My Heart Had Wings, I got the restored content patch because the Steam release was an all ages release and had some of its scenes censored, which broke the flow of the story according to the reviews. And so I installed the restored content patch, and it was definitely worth it. You can understand if you watch visual novels. I'm not going to go into details, but visual novels have a certain signature, so to speak. It's kind of difficult to explain visual novels to people who don't know what anime is, really. In order to understand visual novels as a medium, you have to first understand anime, and you have to first understand video games, and there's a lot of prerequisites to getting visual novels, which makes them a great choice to lord over people who are not in your niche. I'm poking fun here. Actually, while I do find it satisfying to be in the in group in a certain situation, I do think that that kind of behavior leads towards degenerative conversations and lording your knowledge of a medium over someone who does not understand it is just not a polite thing to do. So that's why whenever I try to explain visual novels or anime to someone, I try to take the most basically the most uh, polite stance I can. Not polite. Polite implies that I'm holding back, but I try to take the most understanding stance I can. I try to understand the generation gap or the content gap or the gap in my experience and the experience of the person I'm talking to. And once I understand that gap, I can better communicate why I love the things that I love. Instead of being proprietary and using these interests as a way to look down on other people, I believe that that kind of behavior and thinking is not conducive to a happy life. Basically, the idea behind what I'm trying to say here is that you should always try to understand the culture of someone who is not part of your culture. That's a very broad statement. It's a very broad statement. One, kind of hard to see put into practice because it's so broad, but though I have noticed that there are people who get really interested in something to the point where they can talk about it to someone who is not interested in that something. And then there are people who do not share their interests with people who are not interested in... Oops, just dropped my candy cane. 5-second rule. But some people I've noticed are reluctant to share their interests with me when I talk to them, which makes holding a conversation kind of awkward, because usually I wait for the other person to initiate the interest sharing, and of course I send out feelers too. I hint at my interests, waiting for them to take the hint and ask. But sometimes there are people who hide their own interests and it's kind of awkward to talk with them about my interests because, well, it's just kind of awkward. Maybe it's just because I'm not a very talkative person and I really dislike surface pleasantries. And so, when I meet up with someone who speaks primarily in surface pleasantries, I have a sort of disconnect with them that I am unable to bridge. And that is what really drives my conversations with some people and my perceptions with some people. Some people are just not the kind of people that I can have a conversation with on the level that I want to have a conversation with them on. So some people just don't enjoy having intense conversations because, as you may have noticed, I am a very intense person, which I think is actually a demerit, a weakness, so to speak, because my intensity tends to scare people off because I always ask the most out of them. I always ask for someone's A game when it comes to interacting with them. And though I don't always bring my A game, I do expect other people to act the same way as I do and attempt to bring everything they have into a conversation. I'm not someone who likes dilly-dallying conversations. I want all of my conversations to mean something. And when someone approaches me just wanting to have a surface little sit by the side of the pool and kick at the water kind of conversation, I have a hard time connecting with them, and so the conversation stalls after a couple of feebly attempted rescues. I finished my candy cane, but this video is approaching its intended length. I shoot for 20 minutes usually, so I will spend these last 2 minutes in the video advertising my writing, my books. Now, I am an author. I write books. I have written 9 books. 9 books that are full length. And I'm working on a 10th, although not as laboriously or frequently as I would like, but that's because once you've written 9 books without getting a single one published, you sort of lose your spark for the craft, so to speak. Sorry, I just had to suppress a sneeze. But I'll put some links to my books down there. Check them out if you want. They're either $2.99 or 99 cents, depending on the book. I'll probably be back with another reading out loud book, The Lascivia Chapter 3. If you've seen the first 2 chapters, if you haven't seen them, I recommend you go see them. Not many people have watched them compared to my other videos, but I was kind of expecting that, as audiobooks and reading aloud does not really have a place on YouTube. But I enjoy writing. Obviously, I'm working on a YouTube channel right now, and I've done lots of other things. Not sure what those things are at the moment, but today is New Year's Eve, and while I could stay up until 12 o'clock, I've decided that it's just a little bit too much for me. I've been working all day in the cold, drizzly rain. I work at a Super One Foods pushing carts. I had a 6-hour shift today and it was long. I want to find a job that I like soon, but it's been a little bit difficult. So, thank you for watching. If you have come this far, you're amazing. As always, anyone who watches this far is amazing. I am a firm believer in the power of praise. I actually probably in the future I'm going to do studies on how praise affects motivation and how just adding a little bit of praise to your ending will cause a significant change in the attitude of the viewer or the worker or whoever is being praised. So you're amazing, as always. You guys are awesome. Thank you for watching. If you liked, you can subscribe, but you don't have to. I'm watching my subscriber count tick upwards very slowly, and it's very fun. It's rewarding, so to speak. And I haven't gotten nearly as many as some channels have. Cough, cough. I could insert in any number of famous channels there. But that's like me comparing myself against Stephen King, and that's just not in the ball game yet. I mean, that's like me as a writer comparing myself to Stephen King and saying, I'm not as famous as Stephen King. Why is that? I don't feel good about that. Yeah, I understand. I'm making a joke about the frivolousness of my worries about my low sub count, because a low sub count is actually a detriment to a channel in my perspective, because when people see that you have a low sub count, they are less receptive to what you are doing. I've noticed this effect in myself, and I assume that it applies to other people. So when you need subs to get subs, it's a paradox. It's not a paradox, it's a loop. You need subs to get subs. To get subs, you need subs. Subscribers, obviously. If you were wondering what sub meant, I wonder if anyone watching this video didn't know that. Probably not. Huh. Well, I've stretched this ending out a little bit too long. Tomorrow I'll be back with whatever I come up with. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy your New Year's. And you're awesome. Signing out.